Welcome to Let's Drink Bourbon. I'm Tim. That's Wes. You probably recognize the guy that we're talking to today, founding member of Zac Brown Band, John Driscoll Hopkins. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Wes, you guys have known each other for years. I am just a huge fan, and as I've been in many of these, so I'm going to let you kick it off, man.
Well, hey, Hop, thank you so much for joining us. I know you guys are busy and played Philly last night, right? And now headed to, are you at Bristow? Is that where you are? Where are you playing tonight?
Bristow, Virginia tonight, and then back home after the show tonight. So going to be at the Minnesota State Fair next week, and then we have another week off, and then we're back at it. So.
Well, you guys have been all over the place, and I was fortunate enough to be. And thank you, by the way, for inviting us up to. I don't know if you invited us. I kind of invited ourselves, but thank you.
Always welcome. Always welcome. Yeah, Cincinnati. It was great.
Yeah.
Riverbend. Yeah.
It does at Riverbend, and I do want to talk about the current tour. But do you feel? And I don't know if you sense it as much up on stage as I do. I've been to a lot of shows at Riverbend, and Riverbend seems to be one of those venues in my mind that there's a certain amount of energy. Everything just seems kind of a little amped up there. I know Jimmy Buffett shows are legendary there. Same with you guys. You guys brought it the other night. Can you feel the energy? I'm sure you can feel the energy from different types of venues, indoor versus outdoor versus stadium. But individual venues, do you sense that at all while you're up there?
Absolutely. In fact, we feed on it. It's if we get a lot back from the crowd, we tend to give more. And Riverbend is just beautiful because of the river. I mean, right away, there are not that many venues that are alongside such a great expanse of water. And that's inspiring, just to get out of the bus in the morning and be able to walk to the edge and take it all in. The crowd in Cincinnati was great, and all of our crowds are great, but you do feel the energy when it's a little more involved, and when the crowd is more involved in what you're doing and responding. It's definitely a give and take.
Do you have bad crowds at this point in your career? Are there sleepy crowds?
On occasion, and I think it might come down to the venues where everyone has a seat. There's no standing room, and some people will choose to sit. But I wouldn't go sleepy, but I would say that some venues lend themselves to a relaxed listening experience, and people might take advantage of that. But our crowds are sing along, amazing music fans, and they appreciate our genre, jumping, and all the things that we have to offer as a multifaceted group. So our crowds are very engaging and unique, I think, especially in country music.
You go to a Zac Brown concert and you see such a wide variety of fans there. Just a wide range of age, families. All the way up, and that's one of the. I think that's a hallmark of a band where you go and you get such that diversity and multi generations, which is awesome. But this tour in particular, I've been blessed to see you guys a bunch of times and never disappoint ever with your music, your own hit music. But this time, and as you've done in other shows, you really mixed it up and I don't know if it's always the third act or not, but the last act that I saw the other night were the covers that you guys did, and it was Tim, I don't know how to describe it other than it brought the house down. It was just one. The stage was full of people. It was tons of musicians. It was tons of energy. And Hop, can you name some of those songs? I have the set list in front of me, but I don't want to put you on this. I don't want to put you on the spot. I mean, but
my song that I do is Lionel Richie's "All Night Long," and I've enjoyed this so much that we have begun a recording of it. So I'm going to be putting a single out of that cover with Zac Brown Band playing it at some point in the near future. The other ones are party favorites like Brick House, and Clay does Poison. I mean, they're all kind of R&B blockbusters, and we come out there in black and white suits, and we dress up the last act. And typically, when we've done this before, it's been kind of an extended encore, but we added so much this time that it made for a third act. And Robert Randolph joins us with his entire band for the entire third act. So it's 20 people on stage. It's insane.
That's the first. Go ahead, Tom.
Sorry, Wes. I was going to say, are we going to hear a little actual Lionel Richie? Because I know he's still on the road. Is he ever going to show up? Has he shown up yet? Is he going to show up in a single?
I would freak out, but I would love that opportunity to play and sing with him. But as far as I know, it hasn't been approached yet. But
all right, we need to work on that. I'll put my people. We'll get my people in contact with his people.
That's right.
I do have to read the set list off though. That's the way I like it. Brick House, Kiss, Sir Duke, Cruisin', Poison, the BBD, and Poison and Clay. That was incredible. Sledgehammer, All Night Long, which you did. You Make Me Feel Like a Natural Woman, and that was that Caroline?
No, that was Drea and J. Marie.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then Happy, and then the one that really jumped out to me as well, that I never would have expected in a million years, was Zac doing Never Gonna Give You Up. And I could have closed my eyes and channeled Rick Astley on that one.
Right. Well, we figured since Rickrolling has become such a fun TikTok thing, that we would Rickroll our own crowd. And then the very last one is Fly As Me by Silk Sonic. And I think people generally are new to that song, and by the end of it, they are singing along. It's just that infectious of a tune. And then we end that whole scenario with Colder Weather and Chicken Fried. So we wrap it back to an ending of the show. But it's just a fun 30-minute dance party.
So the first, and getting to that dance party, I kind of skipped over the first part as well, which was a lot of fun, and it does definitely end as a dance party, and to end with Chicken Fried and Colder Weather and Take It to the Limit, by the way. So it was both of those together, which I thought was amazing. The Eagles hit, the way you guys that kind of got woven in there as well.
I feel like the covers are better when they're woven in. We do a lot of covers, and it's basically to break up the show and bring a different kind of energy. But I feel like they're very effective when they're inside of one of our songs, like Into the Mystic in the middle of Free, Take It to the Limit in the middle of Colder Weather. That seems to be the most effective use of the covers, in my opinion.
I'm gonna jump to a very complicated question right now. I'm gonna put you on the spot. What's more fun, playing one of your hit songs that you've played forever, or a cover on stage?
I prefer to play our music. Zac really loves playing these covers and surprising the crowd with that diversity, but I prefer to play our songs.
I think I'd freak out if I was in the audience and All Night Long or an R&B cover came out of nowhere from you guys, because you don't expect it. You guys really mastered country music. You mastered rock too, man. And to have an R&B come out, are you going to do a full R&B album, an original R&B album?
We've dabbled in R&B for years. Just with the albums that we've already done. There was a song with Trombone Shorty called Overnight. There have been leanings that have gone the R&B way. I did an R&B Christmas album, but it was all classic songs. Didn't write any of them. So we're music fans, and there's only two kinds of music: good and bad, and that's based on what you like. So there are no wrong answers really. On occasion, we have someone kind of speak out and say that we're playing too many covers, but the vast majority of our fan base loves it. So we're just going to keep doing what makes our crowd thrilled.
Tim, I know you're a big fan of a lot of different bands, and one of the things we talked about earlier is just the longevity and the different other, making comparison to other bands that are consistently sold out, consistently all over around the country. Can you talk about that a little bit more, and some of your other favorites, and can make some comparisons there?
Well, here's the thing, and I texted Wes. This is a loaded question that's coming for you, John. Do you guys realize? I mean, when I think about it from a 50,000-foot perspective, when you think about maybe greatest of all time touring bands, modern now, you've got Fish, you've got obviously Buffett, you've got Dave Matthews, and I think you guys are in there. I don't know. Obviously, you would know the numbers better than me, but I don't know a single person who hasn't seen you live. I don't know a single person who doesn't line up to see you live. And that's across many, many genres of people in different professions. Everyone loves you guys, and I think you've become one of America's greatest touring bands. Has it ever hit you that you guys have been on the road that long and that consistently and that successfully, that you're up there with those guys?
There are several years that are they sort of run together because we have been out here for so long. And then when the COVID pause hit the reset button, everyone kind of had to take a step back and say, wow, this is what my house looks like for an extended period of time, for months on end. It was refreshing. But yes, we are consistently in the top 10 touring acts in the U.S. year after year, and those who are surprised by that have not seen us, but those who have are not surprised.
It's really, for me, back in college, I'm going to date myself. I think you guys might be older than me by a little bit. But 98, it was Dave Matthews dominated for like 10 years. Everybody went to see, every time he came around, it was Dave Matthews. Now that's all I hear. Every time Zac Brown comes around, everybody goes to see Zac Brown. I mean, you guys are there, and you're right. It's like the only people who don't get it are the 17 people in America who have yet to go see you. But do you know like how many million people total you've performed for? I mean, it's got to be up there.
Yeah, I don't have the numbers, but we're doing baseball stadiums consistently, and those are 35,000 on average, and we've already done 4 of them this year. So you add that up, it's probably 1 million people a year. When you get into 70 dates that are 15 to 35,000 people per performance.
So Hop, I mean, that's just amazing. The numbers are boggling. For the first time, I saw Caroline Jones on stage with you guys in Riverbend, and I was like, wow, what a musician. It was fun to listen to her sing and watch her play. And how's that experience been? I know you've done some other things with her outside of Zac Brown Band and played along with her, done some little shows here and there. Can you talk a little bit about that relationship and what she's brought to the band?
Well, her band opened for us several years ago, and she is like family now. She has her own career that she came to pretty much the same way that Clay and Coy and I all do our own thing outside of Zac Brown Band. And and she is likely to continue to play with us. I don't know what next year will bring, and she is very busy on her own, but she's a joy to be around. She's a joy to perform with, and we're just excited to have her on stage with us.
Can you
Tim, go take a look at some of her music when you get a chance, Tim?
Oh,
She's just really incredible.
absolutely.
If you haven't already.
No, I know some. Listen, I geek out and then I actually do a little research before I come into these things. Wes, you know me. But John, do you remember the first time, a couple of firsts, the first time that you were on a smaller stage and you hit with an audience, when you connected with an audience, and the first time, I'm sure at some point you get approached by management or someone and they say, "Hey, we're going to do a baseball stadium," and you're like, what? What are those experiences like?
Well, as soon as we started playing together in '05, the chemistry between Zach and Jimmy and me and the other guys that were in the band at the time was undeniably sound and solid, and we got crowd reactions immediately from the bars and the nightclubs we were playing. One stands out. We were playing at Center Stage in Atlanta, opening for Angie Aparo, and we played "Devil Went Down to Georgia." And at the end of that, this is probably 800 people, 850 or something like that. At the end of that, there was, because we recorded it, and we were able to go back and listen to the audio. There was 30 seconds of nonstop screaming after the last note, and we're just standing there going, "They're not going to stop screaming." Like, wow, and it was a moment in the very beginning that was a real venue opening for a real artist that we really respected, and it was a cover, but it was the intensity with which we delivered it that got this massive response, and I'll never forget it, because we were just looking at each other like, are they going to stop screaming? Like, wow. And then that led to opening for like Alan Jackson and Keith Urban and a bunch of these bigger artists, where inherently you're now in arenas, so it's a slow burn to get to the ballparks. But when someone does mention we're going to go play Fenway Park for the first time, it's kind of mind blowing. And my thought is, can we sell that? Like, can we really put that many people into a Boston baseball stadium? And the answer was an overwhelming yes. I mean, we have the sellout record at Fenway Park. It's insane.
Wow.
Consecutive sellouts. 13 maybe, I've lost track. One year we did 3 Fenways in a row, and that's 100,000 plus over the weekend, like a Thursday, Friday, Saturday or something. Sold them all out, and it's just you don't get used to that. You really it's important to continue to appreciate it, but it's easy to let it overwhelm you, because it is overwhelming, and we're just grateful, but the time when they screamed for 30 seconds is just as exciting in my memory banks as the time when we played Fenway for the first time. These are all stepping stones in what has become a very blessed career for all of us.
Was there a moment following up on that? Is there a moment where you couldn't go grocery shopping anymore without somebody screaming while you're in the cereal aisle?
Not for me. I think Zach is pretty much relying on Amazon or groceries to be delivered. But I can go to the grocery store with no problem in my neighborhood. But that's the beauty of being one of the side guys. I I imagine that the guys in Dave Matthews Band are, Stefan Lassard can probably go to the grocery store, and Dave Matthews probably can't.
I can go to the grocery store.
Well, I'll give you a list.
Wes can go to a grocery store, but he can't go to a bar in downtown Louisville. I'll tell you that.
That's right. That's right.
That's true. That's true. Or the Derby, and we have some good Derby experiences, don't we, John?
We do, and more to come.
I know, absolutely. That's one thing I really missed out on over COVID. And one of these days, we're going to figure out how we can flash photos up here. But I have a photo that will one day probably be used for blackmail purposes of Hop in a jockey attire and holding a jockey whip and standing on the jockey scales at Churchill Downs. It's something else, and we have a lot of fun doing.
Yeah, I weigh as much as 3 jockeys, so we figured that out.
So during COVID, there's pre, during, and post COVID. It seems like it's like time periods. You've got a beautiful studio at the house, and certainly we were all at home. How much time did you spend in the studio writing and working on new stuff and just kind of farting around, or did you push away from that a little bit?
I did. I was up there a lot, and partially we were all hopeful that things would go back to normal, but at some point we weren't sure. What if touring comes back and it's all different? What if we lose fans over the next 2 years to something new? What if we become the older band that sort of fades? So in a lot of our minds, we're thinking about what would next be if touring didn't continue. And for me, it would be studio work. It would be recording and engineering bands and writing and recording my own music. So I did stay as busy as I could while we were on that break, but it was challenging as well because you'd all be in the room together with people that you trust, and then you'd hear that someone had COVID. It's like, oh crap, we were all in this studio together 2 days ago. I guess we need to start testing, or it was just a complicated time for everyone, including studio musicians. So glad to be through that, but I do miss a little bit while I'm on the road. I do miss my studio because I enjoy being in there, and I enjoy making music at home. It's something that I've really grown fond of, and we're gonna have some time off at the beginning of next year, and I hope to finish up some new songs I've been working on. So
those of us that travel a lot, and I think all 3 of us here are probably like that, although Tim is in between wives and children, so he's
Wes likes to pick on me for that.
Having us home was not as much of a challenge for us. I think is probably a challenge for our wives, seeing us around all the time. How did Jen handle that? And is she was she like a little bit like my wife? Is that I love you, but you got to go?
She's a champ, and my kids are all in elementary and middle school, and so they were learning on laptops for a long time, and she was overseeing all of that, and I was very adamant about getting in the studio and continuing to make money doing the studio work. because the touring, when we don't tour, we don't make money, and we were fortunate enough to at least have a portion of our salary through COVID, but without the full salary, we have to be creative. We had set ourselves up to live a certain way, and we had to tighten that belt a good bit, and I was spending a lot of time trying to make ends meet with studio work, and she had a full-time job helping the kids with school and keeping the house together. And of course, everyone had cabin fever. We're just looking for little safe spots. Like, where can we go this weekend that's free, that's safe? Like camping, mom and dad's beach condo. I mean, like friends that we know don't have COVID in Orlando. Like we're looking for these things that are sort of locked down opportunities to enjoy our time together without living in fear. But to that end, Jennifer was amazing. We went through the whole scenario of lysoling the grocery bags and wiping down everything before we touched it, and wearing masks to get packages from the UPS guy, and just like everyone else, we had to figure it out. But she did great, and the kids did great. This is something that that they'll look back on as a piece of their childhood, and for us it will eventually be a blip. But they missed a whole year of school camaraderie. They're making up for it now, though.
Ultimately, did that help or hurt your creativity? I'd imagine. I mean, you've been a pretty prolific writer and musician. Did that help you that period, or did it kind of stall a little bit?
It's hard to say whether it actually helped, because I was busy, but I wasn't traveling. So the traveling is inspirational as well. I had a lot of work cut out for me because I had an album that I was finishing. So we bumped the release of it because we couldn't really promote it with any shows. So it went from fall 2020 to spring 2021, which gave me the opportunity to rethink a few of the songs and work on it a little longer. I wrote a few things during that time, but I was also recording a lot of bands. So I mean, that's bread and butter, studio time, and just making extra money to make sure that we didn't get behind in our bills.
Are you allowed to talk about what bands you're working with?
Oh yeah, a lot of them are local, and especially during COVID, because flying was a bitch, and I've had some amazing bands that have come through there. Trey Anastasio did vocals there from Fish. Daryl Scott did a record in there. I've had Peebo Bryson in there. I've had Monica in there.
Now I see where the R&B. Now I see where the R&B stuff is coming from, man. All right.
Yeah. Well, it's ATL. I mean, Atlanta has a massive R&B community and incredible talent. But those aren't consistent players in my studio. Those are special events, and I'm excited when they come. But a lot of local talent comes through there, friends that I've worked with for years.
My brain is frozen here because I have so many questions for you. The crew, Zac Brown Band, is such a large group, really, when you think about it. When during COVID, did you guys kind of haul up for like a month or a couple of weeks? Did you all find a moment when nobody had it and you were like, all right, let's go run to a cabin real quick and sit around, or did you mainly Zoom?
It was interesting because Zach had been writing in LA, and he sent us an acoustic demo with a click track and said, you know, do your thing on it. And so we were just emailing this song around, um, and it was called You and Islands. Um, and I think it's out there now. Um, and then The Man Who Loves You the Most was the same track. It was the same development of home studio bouncing. So I mapped out a bunch of background vocals and played a guitar track, and then sent it to Clay, and he sang the parts that I had mapped out, and then he embellished or changed the vocals, and Jimmy did the same, and next thing you know, we have this song that everyone had recorded remotely. We didn't really get back into the studio until the spring of 21. There were two small acoustic performances we did at Camp Southern Ground that were live streams, but generally we didn't see each other that much. We talked every week. We kept texting and calling and staying in communication. But when we got back in the studio in March, my daughter had tested positive in February. So it was the time that she tested positive. We had been living on top of each other in a small house in Barnsley Gardens up in Cartersville, Georgia. And I thought for sure that we'd all get it. And we all tested negative except for her. And I lived in the studio for the next 10 days because I had to go to Nashville. So that was, separation, like true quarantining from my actual family, which, every other day I was like, this is pretty cool. And then I was like, this really sucks, like it was great to have this alone time, but then I'm lonely in my own home, So it was this turbulent thing, but we did continue to be creative, just over the internet, the way that we were able to be. So
Yeah. Listen, it's Let's Drink Bourbon that we're on here, and I have yet to bring up, nor has Wes for this matter. What's your favorite juice when you're out, when you need a break, or when you're getting creative? What do you turn to? And you don't have to say Angel's Envy just because he's up in that corner over there.
That can be one of them. That's fine.
Yes. Well, we are an Angel's Envy band, and we always have it in the cabinet. When it's not available, I am a standard Woodford Reserve guy. It seems to be readily available at all the restaurants. Of course, when I can afford a bottle at the friends and family price, I will turn to the Pappy Van Winkle 20 year. But I enjoy Buffalo Trace. There's lots of them that I'll go to, and then there's some that I will avoid, just because I've learned a lot about my palate. But Angels is always a favorite, and Woodford is always a favorite.
Do you have a sizable bar at home, or do you just kind of buy it as you go?
Well, it was funny. When I turned 50, I guess I'm 51, so it was a COVID 50, and I think I was gifted 18 bottles of bourbon. Like everyone who came knew that I would appreciate a bottle of bourbon. And I had Weller and Willet, and I had Angels. I had somebody brought me Old Granddad because it was like called Old Granddad, and it was a 50-year-old joke, you know. Um, so you know, I I always have liquor in the cabinet, but I'm not one of those. I don't have a liquor cabinet like the one behind you, you know, where it's stocked with so many different uh, flavors. I see Michter's back there. I see Maker's Mark back there. I mean, you know, I
But mainly, I had to centerpiece it because I've gotten criticized by the man again in that corner over there. I centerpiece these for the podcast. I got my angels there and an angels there, so
okay.
I stay safe. That's for my own personal health.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I've always got Angels. I've always got Woodford, and then I've often got what people have gifted or something that I'm trying. You know, something new.
So there we go. We covered bourbon. You know, when we named this podcast "Let's Drink Bourbon," we found we talk about bourbon what maybe 5% of the time,
Yeah.
Tim. But
Right.
we've had some good conversations though. Hop,
Well,
tell me.
I was
Go
hoping
ahead.
that I wouldn't have to to deny you the opportunity to actually share a bourbon with you because it's a show day. Um, we would have to do this podcast after the show if we were to actually share a bourbon online.
Well,
But
that's actually an interesting point that you make, John, is because when I perform and I do stand up occasionally, I will not drink or do anything before I go live. It screws up your pace. It screws up everything. I mean, it's drinking responsibly, and I'm not knocking it, but like afterwards, no problem. But before, no.
yeah, we gave that up a long time ago. I think it's really easy to be in the bars and you know the tab is free or whatever, and um, we we have spent many years drinking through lots of performances, and then when things got serious, a couple years into it, the way that I have done with other bands, when we really believe, you know what, this is going to graduate from bar band, then we just stop drinking on stage and we focus, and I think that's part of the reason why we have such longevity as a solid group because we have our wits about us on stage.
So it's already August, and Christmas will be here before long. And I know that Christmas is musically one of your favorite times of the year. And can you take a minute to share with the viewers and listeners about the Christmas music and why do you what do you love about Christmas so much, and what do you love about Christmas music so much?
Well, it's just, to me, it's family, and it's my favorite holiday. Um, I've always loved Christmas music, and for years I thought, you know, when am I going to make my own Christmas album? And then in 2015, I did it. I enlisted the Atlanta Pops Orchestra, and I made what I believe to be my greatest hits, my favorites, and had orchestral arrangements developed for this group, and I loved it so much that I decided to do another one and started planning for this slew of Christmas albums, and I've been slowly knocking them off every 2 years. So 2017 was all songs about Santa Claus. It was called "You Better Watch Out," and it featured the Joe Granston Big Band. So it's 13 horns, big band jazz. Um, and then the 2019 was the ATL Collective, and it was uh, all R&B songs from 1950 to 1985, and it was called Our Finest Gifts. And this I'm working on one for this Christmas that will be released in November, and it's with the Yacht Rock Review, and it's called Let's Get Frosty, and it's all smooth 70s sounds, um, and all of the songs are about winter weather and snowfall and White Christmas and this, that, and the other. And then I've got another one planned for next year that's jam band related, like Southern rock band related, and I'm still looking for the band for that. And it will be evergreen. It will be Christmas and holly and mistletoe, Christmas trees and holly and mistletoe, and all of the nature uh, aspects of the season. So I'm enjoying the themes. I'm enjoying the color codings. I'm enjoying having this massive catalog of songs to choose from in Christmas concerts with orchestras and even just orchestral ensembles, a smaller group of 15 or 16 players instead of a 35-piece orchestra. And I'm doing my first performance this year in Nashville at Belmont at the Fisher Center, and I've got a big one in Atlanta in the Sandy Springs Performing Arts Center. And Yacht Rock Review, of course, is killing it all over the country, and they're an amazing band. All of my musical groups that I've done Christmas albums with have been Georgia bands, so I'm keeping it at home as well.
Well, if you ever venture out, I live in the Christmas capital of Texas, Grapevine, Texas. I don't know if you've ever been, but
No.
our downtown is decked out. I think you'd love it, honestly. Our downtown is decked out with I don't know how many million lights, and our centerpieces are literally our city hall has an LED display with fireworks every other night or something too. It's a crazy. I mean, we do Christmas. I think we do Christmas unlike many towns in the country. We blow it out. So I personally invite you. I don't know if I'm allowed to invite people to Grapevine, but I personally invite you to come out to Grapevine and check it out this year. It goes for about 2 months, the light shows and the like spectacular that is. I think you'd fall in love with it.
I love it already. What's it close to? Dallas?
DFW Airport. We literally sit right on the airport, so you could hop in, no pun intended, and drive over about 5 minutes from the airport. Even if you had like a layover at night, one of those nights while you're headed somewhere else, you could drive through and check out downtown, and I guarantee you'd fall in love with it. I mean, it's ridiculous, and it's one of the reasons I moved here was just how blown out and how festive this place gets.
Nice.
Yep.
Sounds like a great trip.
Hop, let's talk about a date that I certainly remember, and the total shift of gears here. But on May 20th, you along with the band announced a diagnosis about your health, and I really want to talk more than anything about the efforts you're making since that diagnosis. But you announced with the band that you had been diagnosed with ALS. And I think there's been a huge show of love and rally of support around that. What was that day leading up to that day when you knew that video was going to air, and how were you feeling about that?
Well, I got the diagnosis on December 22nd, 21, and so 3 days before Christmas. And it's not something that you're ever prepared to hear. I do believe and continue to cling to the fact that what appears to be a very slow progression for me. So I hope that I'm active in my musical pursuits and able to play and sing for many years. And in that time, we have developed a 501c3 called Hop on a Cure. Yeah. And we are trying to find the best clinics, the best treatment centers, and some of the fine naturopathic centers that are being overlooked with for funding, and we are trying to fill in the gaps and make sure that the people who are doing the best research toward finding a cure have our resources. So, in that, there's, in my limited celebrity, there is a platform that I felt that we really needed to take advantage of. And, Jennifer was a bit hesitant to publicly announce, because we were, she was worried about the girls. And my argument to that was, we need to be able to look them in the eye and tell them that we have done everything that we can to fix this, and the exciting part is that there are a lot of people out there that believe we are very close to finding something that will halt motor neuron damage and possibly reverse it. And there are, it just takes so much time for these clinical trials to happen. So this is the first year we've done anything like this, and we are still getting our feet under us. Jennifer is incredible with all of the research she continues to do, and she has been instrumental in setting up the foundation and running it with my personal manager and my financial advisor, and so we have a team that is helping us understand where to direct this attention. And I'm being treated at Mass General out of the Healy Center, and Emory has a fantastic clinic in Atlanta, and I'm doing a clinical trial out of there. It's a brand new world, and every second of every day I see the world, the word, the letters ALS just on everything that I do, and I don't know that I will ever have another day where I don't think about it all the time. But if I'm still singing it, I'm still bringing it. So we're here, and I'm relatively healthy. I can stand for 3 hours and play and sing. I was never a very good guitar player in the first place, so the guys are okay with me becoming a shittier guitar player. I have noticed a little bit of a slowness in my speech. I should be able to rattle off things a lot more quickly than I'm doing right now. So that's annoying. But I'm fighting through it, and I'm trying to record a bunch of music in the meantime, and I'm logging my voice, and I'm doing all the things that I can to prepare for the worst while still hoping for the best.
And thanks for sharing all that. And we have there are so many different human conditions that are out there that there's constant research for, and so many different things that doctors and researchers are racing to find a cure for. But we talked about this the other night, and you and I have both been very active in raising funds for cystic fibrosis research, and with you doing Christmas concerts and all kinds of fun things. And we've gotten very close to a lot of folks in the cystic fibrosis family and those families. And so it's not so abstract, because in the last couple of years, we have seen research result in cures for a large number of forms of cystic fibrosis. So it's not an abstract thing to believe that we can raise money for research that will find a cure for things. We saw it with cystic fibrosis, and of course it's my prayer and with everyone's support that the same will be done for ALS. So it's definitely not an intangible. We've experienced it, right?
Right. And, just like with CF, we have had very positive developments in the recent years that lead us to believe that we can find a cure. And, finding a cure for ALS very likely means finding new treatments for Parkinson's and Alzheimer's and a lot of these other neuromuscular conditions that are closely related. There are probably half a dozen diseases that we can't name that end in degenerative motor neuron function. And why do football players get it? Why do kids get it? There are a lot of people out there that are healthier than me that get it, and there are a lot of people out there that are not as healthy as me that don't get it. So it's that we don't know how it starts, and if we could figure out how it's happening, then we could find a way to stop it, and possibly so many others.
So how do our viewers and listeners support Hop on a Cure?
Well, I think the best way is to go to hoponacure.org and make a donation. We also have a text to donate function that takes you to an immediate donation site. You can text HOP to 345-345, and that will give you a link that you can click on to donate. Come to one of our functions. Follow us on socials. My holiday shows will be benefits for Hop on a Cure. Zac Brown Band has been incredibly supportive. We're doing a show at the Ryman that benefits Hop on a Cure on September 22nd. It's going to be incredible. I'm so blessed to be a part of it, and just keep the faith and stay involved. It would be my biggest goal to impart. A lot of people don't understand ALS, and they believe that it's something that's super uncommon, but it's more. If you look on Wikipedia, it says 1 in 20,000 people have ALS, but the numbers these days are closer to 1 in 300 or 400.
Wow.
It's incredibly more common than people think, and in the next 10 years, the way that the growth rate has been going, we expect it to rise by another 40%. So let's find a way to fix it now and make it go the way of polio or of CF. Some of these things that we've been able to control, that would be the thing that I would charge listeners with is understand that ALS is fatal. ALS is a disease that eventually takes all of your muscular functions and reduces them to nothing, which includes swallowing and breathing. So it's like Parkinson's in that way, you know. And we're just finding ways, trying to find ways to you know, purge metals from our body, and we're on some medications that will slow the progression, but we don't have anything that will stop it or reverse it. So that's the goal, is to get out there and let these scientists, I'm not a scientist, but let these scientists that are doing such incredible work have more resources to do that work.
Well, what's important about your organization and what you're doing is that you touch so many lives, that you make people aware of this, that, you know, it's so easy to forget that so many people are affected by things like ALS every day. And I'd imagine with the millions of people you perform for every year, you know, they know someone, you know, they know someone in you, and they may know someone personally. And your work is very incredibly important. You know, turning something like that could be negative into a positive is incredible. And thank you for doing that and bringing the awareness to people about that.
Thank you. It's my honor and my privilege.
Well, Hop, we've kept you on here for a minute. I just want to say thanks again for your friendship and friendship of Jen, and you guys are a very important part of our lives, and we're very grateful, and we're going to continue to support the cause, and we encourage everybody watching to do that too. So thank you for everything.
Thank you, Wes, and thank you, Tim, and I appreciate you guys hosting me on this this podcast, and I'm excited to be a part of it. Thank you.
And by the way, Wes, we didn't even get into. I love "Heavy as the Head," dude. Like, it's a great song, man. That's like that's when I want to feel like a badass. I walk around with that in my headphones. All right, so I just want to throw that out there, man. So
keep the metal alive. You know, they're purging heavy metals from my blood, but they can never purge them from my soul.
That's awesome. Thank you for that, and thank you for everything. You guys, it's been the Let's Drink Bourbon podcast. I'm Tim. That's Wes. That's Hop. Hop for a Cure, man. You got to go help this out. You got to go drop a couple of bucks if you got them, if you're paying attention to the podcast today. We don't sell merch, so the least you can do is go donate to a good cause. So go do that right now. Thank you guys, and we'll see y'all soon.
Cheers.